And as kids and teachers go off to their classes, we're going to sing Spirit of Life. If you don't know the English, it's at number 123.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Take off your unmutes for a second and everybody say good morning to everyone. Okay, everyone unmute yourself for a second and I'll count to 3 and say good morning to each other. 1, 2, 3.
Good
morning to each other.
morning.
Vietnam.
Great. Now mute yourselves again. I'm so happy that everyone came to the service this morning. It's a very special service on this soon to be 90-degree day. We have some special things coming up this morning. I'm glad you're here to share them. Welcome to everyone who is here, and welcome to all those who are in our thoughts and may not be here for whatever reason. I have a few announcements this morning. And let's see what those are. The first one is there is no COVID testing this coming Tuesday. We're giving our team a medical break, and the next testing will be on Tuesday, September 1st. If you would like more information about that, please make sure you check the First Parish website. Also, now is the time to register children and youth for faith development programming. The form is on the website, and or they can contact Annie or Deb for further information. The website is www.uubedford.org. You'll be able to find all contact information on the website. Next Sunday, the service is again at 10 a.m. What happened at GA? The GA meeting this past June. It will include the First Parish Bedford delegates to the UUA General Assembly, and they will narrate some of the important things that happened at that gathering. On that same day, there's a deadline for submissions to the parishioner. Be sure to mark Sunday, August 30th, next week, for those two things. Moving beyond that, there will be no service on September 6th, but please plan to join us for the gathering on September 13th. In order to continually promote our commitment to safety for all First Parish's beloved community. Of course, this year's End Gathering will be online. Never fear, there will be surprises in store as we start a new year of dedication to the values which keep First Parish strong. So again, I'm so happy that everyone is here this morning. So happy that we can share the words and the upcoming music with you. I don't know about you, but when I first saw that opening prelude, which Carol and Liz had picked out, I was caught off guard by how moving it was, to hear Spirit of Life again, and to sing together and see all of us together. And a lot of that is going to be mentioned in this upcoming service. But being together, one of the things we always do the unison affirmation. And so I'm going to ask Webb to put the unison affirmation slide up for everyone to see. And I'm going to ask him to unmute everyone. I lead the reading of the unison affirmation. Please stand or sit or whatever you would like to do, and let's read this text together. Love
Church and service is its law. This is our great covenant. Dwell together in peace. Seek the truth in love. Help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia. El servicio es su ley.
Este es nuestro gran pacto. Y juntos a
La verdad, el amor,
people talk to me about trying to read in unison over Zoom. Things haven't changed. It's hard to do unison, right? We all but by the same token, it's nice to be together and hear each of your voices. If only for a momentary second, I can hear you and we're together. So I'm going to make sure that we're all muted now. Thank you. I got muted like everyone else. You can hear me now. So when the idea for this service by Carol and Liz, they had thought that they were going to tell everyone about what it meant to make music together and how it affected them and how music affected the congregation. But as they developed their idea for this service, they decided to broaden that out so that it wasn't just their words that were important. It wasn't just their ideas that were important. It was the entire First Parish community. So we're going to start this service with comments from people throughout the First Parish community and what music does for them. The pandemic has affected them, the loss of music, and how important all of this a part of our lives.
Good morning.
Liz, Carol.
Good morning. We'll start with Maria Dancer. To me, the power of music lies in its resonance with the body. Music can soothe the brain and open the heart. Music evokes harmony between our emotions and our physical presence. It makes us laugh, cry, and wonder. It attunes us to the immeasurable universe.
Hi, everyone. This one is from Marge Heckman. Music has always been important to me, though I wasn't lucky enough to learn an instrument as a child. As an adult, I have dabbled with guitar, hammered dulcimer, and now piano, and I am determined to learn to play the piano and read music. Singing in choir has been my biggest connection over the last several years, and I miss it dearly during this time. The folk music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s is still where I turn when I need to be uplifted and feel hopeful.
And from Bob Bass, he says, I am not a musician, but I have been fortunate to have been surrounded by musicians in my family. My brother is a music historian and composer, and my son trained as a classical guitarist. Wonderful classical music in our home was an important part of my childhood. A day without music is like a day without food for me. Music is an essential component of the services at First Parish. We have an amazing music director in Brad Connor and a cohort of wonderful instrumentalists and vocalists, solo vocalists and choirs that never cease to amaze and move me. Children's choirs directed by Janet Welby not only produce amazing music, but instill confidence in our children beginning at early ages. Steve Sussman's incredible piano with his postludes perfectly summarizes the point of the service. Robert Noble gives us organ masterpieces throughout the year. We are truly blessed to be part of First Parish Bedford in so many ways, and music feeds our souls and warms our hearts. We are so fortunate.
This one is from Larry Hertz. My mother once introduced my father to someone saying, "This is my husband Werner. He's made up of 10% water and 90% music." I inherited half of that. To me, music is a lot like language. It's a simple structure of rhythm, tones, and sequences, but with endless power of expression. I've been most moved by music inspired by strong feelings like love, awe, joy, and yearning. In addition to the music of my youth, this has meant a lot of religious music. But the structure has made deep grooves in my brain so that whether I'm paying attention or not, something has always seeped in and is playing in there, just as though I were hearing it performed. I thought this was weird until I read Oliver Sacks's Musicophilia and found that subjective musical experiences are more common than you'd think. I do wonder what my life would have been like if so much cerebral cortex weren't devoted to music. But it is, and I'm glad.
And the next one is anonymous. Thinking about First Parish music at this moment makes me realize even more how much I miss being together at the church on Sunday mornings. Music at First Parish is extraordinary and is a large part of my enjoyment of a service. I love Brad, his marvelous personality, and the wonders he creates with his chorus. I love Cynthia singing. I love Carol and Liz, your solos and accompaniments. And I adore Janet Welby. What a joy to see and hear those kids. Secretly, I confess that one of my favorite things is singing. Yet I only do it at church. So I love to join in when all are invited to sing.
And this one is from Asher Whiting. As a newcomer to First Parish, the music was one thing that really reached out to me. It seems fitting that the music gave me feelings of welcome and community, as this is what I felt from the people I met. One piece I loved was Quiet Song by the adult choir at a service about domestic violence. I found myself in tears at the overwhelming feelings of support I felt and connection to the community. The music embodies the people I've met in their welcoming, caring, and generous nature. And our final one for this set of comments is from Bill Rashard. Music is one of the reasons that I love coming to First Parish. For me, it's the thing that keeps me going for the rest of the week. It does indeed lift me. From the music Sundays to the special seasonal programs, the music is a much welcome part of my wonderful experience as a parishioner. So here are some thoughts from Carol and me. Carol and I have enjoyed performing a really good piece in 3 movements by the British composer John Rutter, titled 3 American Miniatures, written specifically for flute and clarinet, which we have performed frequently and very much appreciate. The first movement is a patriotic fanfare, but movements 2 and 3, which you'll hear in a bit, derive their structure, sound, and style from Black American musical forms, the blues in movement 2 and rag in movement 3. We've all listened to this music many times and accepted and enjoyed them as part of our culture. But given the reckoning we've faced with the violent death of George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter revelations, and the passing of John Lewis, Carol and I wanted to reflect on the origins and influence of the blues and share them here. Blues are the seeds of jazz, the American art form. We'd like to acknowledge this indebtedness as best we can. Blues pieces can be very different one from another. When we hear the word song, we don't think of a single melody or a single style or a single tempo. So we shouldn't limit our sense of what the blues is or overlook its influence on the music we listen to. Deeply grounded in American history, the blues emerged from creators who were slaves, ex-slaves, sharecroppers, prisoners, surviving extremely oppressive, dehumanizing conditions. Blues singers were shaping and developing the music through the mid to late 19th century, but much of it died with the artists when they did, although recordings from the 1920s and 30s preserved some of their legacy. White classical musicians have drawn freely from blues traditions and blues styles. Among many are George Gershwin, Leonard Bernstein, Aaron Copland, and John Rutter, the British composer who wrote our 3 American Miniatures. Their use of blues gave us well-crafted music, and the compositions are usually deeply felt and, at times, inspiring. And while it's true that the reputation of these composers brought some good music to a very wide audience using the sound and style of blues and jazz, Langston Hughes in 1940 wrote this poem. It is called Note on Commercial Theater. You've taken my blues and gone. You sing 'em on Broadway, and you sing 'em in the Hollywood Bowl, and you mixed 'em up with symphonies, and you fixed 'em so they don't sound like me. Yep, you done taken my blues and gone. You also took my spirituals and gone. You put me in Macbeth and Carmen Jones and all kinds of swing Mikados, and in everything but what's about me. But someday somebody'll stand up and write about me, black and beautiful, and sing about me, and put on plays about me. I reckon it'll be me myself. Yes, it'll be me. On the popular side, we have Elvis Presley, Janis Joplin, and Eric Clapton, to name just a few. Some blues artists both classical composers and rock musicians might have been inspired and influenced by were Bessie Smith, Big Mama Thornton, Leadbelly, and Louis Armstrong. While Armstrong achieved worldwide fame and recognition for his personal magnetism, mastery of the trumpet, and unsurpassed brilliance in improvisation, Armstrong, along with far less well-known artists, drew directly from their heritage, hardships, creativity, and talent to sow the seeds that grew into jazz, as well as the vibrant universe known as rock and roll. To offer one example, Leadbelly was a legendary 12-string guitar player and blues singer. He lived a hard-scrabble life, making his way as a musician, doing hard physical labor when needed, and surviving 2 prison sentences. His music was discovered by northern white folklorists John and Ellen Lomax, who brought him and his music to New York audiences. He eventually played nationally and in Europe, his artistic reputation established and his brilliance finally recognized. He died from Lou Gehrig's disease in 1949 at perhaps 61 or 64 years old. His date of birth is uncertain. No Leadbelly, no Beatles, George Harrison once said. Nearly 40 years later, in 1988, Leadbelly was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by Pete Seeger. A poem I found that has presence for our present time, as well as reflecting on Leadbelly, is this by Black American poet Cornelius Eady. That's E-A-D-Y. Leadbelly. You can actually hear it in his voice. Sometimes the only way to discuss it is to grip a guitar as if it were somebody's throat and pluck. If there was a ship off this planet, an ark where the blues could show its other face, a street where you could walk, just walk without dogged air at your heels, at your back, don't you think he'd choose it? Meanwhile, here's the tune. Bad luck, empty pockets, trouble walking your way with his tin ear. I have asked myself, what do I really know about leaders like Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, Rosa Parks, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., John Lewis? Or about the artists Duke Ellington, Marian Anderson, Paul Robeson, Bill Traylor, Zora Neale Hurston, Lorraine Hansberry, Leontine Price, Nina Simone, Jesse Norman, Ollie Wilson, Rita Dove, the 2020 Pulitzer Prize-winning poet Jericho Brown, 2-time Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist Colson Whitehead, and certainly Nobel laureate Toni Morrison. I know I have barely scratched the surface in understanding the accomplishment and achievement of these and so many great Black American artists. Carol will be talking more about this, but as musicians, doing the work and having the pleasure of bringing a work to life allows Carol and me, in a sense, to live inside the emotions of the music's creator. It's been our special privilege to take part in the emotions, the feeling of the blues in this music. So it is with gratitude, respect, and hope that Carol and I played Blues by British composer John Rutter.
That was beautiful, Carol and Liz. Thank you for that beautiful music. And let's all take a moment to remember all these things that all these people are talking about and what we miss and what is important in our lives right now. As we move into joys and concerns, please raise your hand or send a message in the chat, and either I will read what's in the chat or Delcy will read what's in the chat, and I will acknowledge you, and please feel free to open your hearts. Let's all take a quick moment to be silent and hold all these thoughts in our heart. And now, Carol Epple will introduce our next musical selection. Carol, like me, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi again. Live music is now quiet. It has been for 5 months now and may continue to be so indefinitely. And music is not filling our sanctuary, except as John told us. Whether the choir, a soloist, our organ, or hymn singing together as a congregation. For me, playing music has been synonymous with collaboration. Yes, there is practicing my instrument on my own, but the greatest reward is putting a piece together with other people. Now, full disclosure, I have never particularly enjoyed playing unaccompanied solo flute pieces very much. Besides seeming too exposed, it is always a solitary project from beginning to end, or from learning the piece in the early stages to the point of performance. That is why I have always loved chamber music. Even just 2 people, let alone a large ensemble, can increase the joy of playing many times over. In thinking about what is meaningful for me about music collaboration, I searched the internet for stories about how musicians are doing these days in the pandemic. Maybe I need some extra reassurance that I am not the only one feeling the void. I found these words used repeatedly to describe musical collaboration and what it is now that is missing. Connection, togetherness, cooperation, community, trust, reliance, spirituality, and one person even called making live music together a religious experience. Rehearsing a piece of music with other people involves, among many other things, working on a phrase, first slowly with the metronome, endlessly clicking to give us a steady beat, hearing the music the same way, experimenting, bouncing ideas around, striving for an in-tune interval, synchronizing a retard, that is slowing down the tempo, making eye contact, repeating, and enjoying the whole process. Certain music makes me remember how it feels to play with other people and yearn for that experience again. We are about to hear a movement by Tchaikovsky entitled March, Song of the Lark, from his large piece, The Seasons. Originally composed for solo piano, our version was arranged by Brad for flute, clarinet, and piano, and we are very grateful. Though titled The Seasons, this piece contains 12 movements, one for each month of the year. Brad has arranged all 12 for our trio, many of which we have played at First Parish. I think March, Song of the Lark, offers the perfect example of music collaboration. It's intimate, sensitive, and immediate. The piece is contemplative, meditative, and expressive, requiring lots of flexibility. Bending a phrase here, slowing down the tempo there, then pushing forward. Our playing does not conform to a regular beat. And here is the problem. As synchronizing metronome beats among players is essential in the instructions of the online software that is available for playing music, ensemble music, we could probably not attempt to play this piece now. It needs too much flexibility. That is why I believe that March Song of the Lark reflects the best parts of playing music together: listening, adjusting, inspiring, synchronizing, and trusting. And these are what I am missing. But before we hear March, a spoiler alert. In our closing music, Janet Welby's Loons, you will hear an even better example of what we cannot play virtually today. Listen closely. It is beautiful, haunting, and as mercurial as the birds that it depicts. Now, we have all seen the big square on the screen with many small cubes, each with an orchestral or chorus member playing or singing their part from their own house, creating one large piece, such as the Star-Spangled Banner. The technology is complex, and each musician is wired to the mechanical beat. Our playing loons in separate locations with a metronome clicking, as the software requires, would never work. And now back to Tchaikovsky. He included a different poem for each month of the seasons. Here is the poem by Apollon Mykov for March Song of the Lark. I appreciate this poem. It sounds quite idyllic, but the last word is another word for void. And we have a void right now. The field shimmering with flowers, the stars swirling in the heavens, the song of the lark fills the blue abyss.
Thank you, Carol and Liz. That was beautiful playing. This is a very special morning with all the music coming into our lives. Music makes a difference, but so does so many things at First Parish. First Parish is a special place, and we love being part of this family. Part of what First Parish needs is your support. An organization like this, with the values we support and the things we need to do to make the world a better place, means that First Parish gives to you, and now you need, if you can, whatever you can, to give to First Parish. Music gives us so many emotions. It reflects sorrow. It reflects happiness. Liz and Carol now have more comments from parishioners about their thoughts and music.
We'll start with another anonymous one. Music has always been a central part of my living. My father's lullaby at night, my grandmother's live radio Metropolitan Opera broadcasts on Saturday afternoon, WCRB radio in the car or while gardening, and as a participant in choral groups throughout my life. Now, as a member of the choir at First Parish, Thursday is a highlight on my calendar, as well as a unifying experience at the Sunday service.
And this one is from Diane Marston. As a child, I took piano lessons from our church organist, and in 6th grade, I began playing the baritone horn. Marching band was my favorite. During high school, I also played in the orchestra pit and accompanied several musicals. In college, I sang for 4 years in a chorus of 500 students with orchestra as we performed Handel's Messiah. In the 60s, I began to participate in the civil rights movement and became acquainted with many of the songs of the movement, such as We Shall Overcome and Walkin' and Talkin' with My Mind Stayed on Freedom, Blowin' in the Wind, If I Had a Hammer, and Bridge Over Troubled Water. As an adult, I continued to sing in church choirs. At First Parish, I joined the choir when Peg Schwerin was conductor. I have been thrilled to sing alto in our choir under Brad's excellent leadership. Some of the most special moments have been singing at our Christmas Eve service. Brad has introduced us to such a variety of music. Much of it has been hard work, but so very, very satisfying and uplifting. As has often been said, listening to glorious music is wonderful, but performing it is truly a peak experience. I recently heard the saying, "Music is the voice of my soul." That surely expresses my feeling about music.
And from B. Brunkhorst, music. Music makes me feel alive. It is one of the only things that sends shivers down my spine and joy. While previously I focused on mostly instrumental music, music at First Parish has opened my choral horizons. It has broadened my understanding of music in so many ways. How hard it is to perform pop music, what the words really mean in a spiritual, the story behind many of the great composers, being introduced to women composers, hearing amazing musicians, both choral and instrumental, a better understanding of the complexities of organ playing, just to name a few. Brad motivates the choir to excel with his infectious love of music and deep scholarship that gives us the needed knowledge to perform. His inspiration lifts our hearts. We are enriched by Dean and Buffy Groves, who provide original compositions and amazing arrangements. And let's not forget Bob and Fran Tyler, whose musical roots in this area go back decades. Janet has touched so many of our youth in a deep and lasting way. Cabarets and musicals have enriched us across the generations. Robert is a joy to watch playing our Fitch organ. Steve Sussman gives us amazing performances. You never know how he will turn a well-known tune into something completely different. I have really gone through a grieving period since the choir has not been able to practice and perform. A part of my life, of me, is missing. I am looking forward to when that piece of me will come back to make me complete again.
And this is from Marie and Bill Ryder. This is Marie. Music has always provided a lifeline for me. I grabbed hold of that lifeline when I was 14 years old and my brother George was paralyzed and confined to an iron lung during the polio epidemic of 1955. I became one of George's caretakers and we were both comforted by classical music. It seemed to soften the blow and make the unbearable a little more bearable. As George slowly recovered and we were able to attend symphony and other concerts, and my future husband Bill, with a love of classical music, appeared on the scene. Here's Bill. I can't remember exactly when my musical experience began. I believe I was about 10 years old when my mother decided I should take up the classics with the slide trombone. Eventually I met Marie and her brother George, and with them had the pleasure of attending Symphony Hall, ballet, and Tanglewood. And here's Marie and Bill together. We now rely on music to temporarily provide a timeout and to change the subject from the crisis of COVID-19 and the trauma of witnessing political cruelty, uncertainty. And the music briefly transports us to a realm of peace and connection. The music at First Parish is exceptional. The music at First Parish is exceptional and is a major part of the First Parish service. It is the sacred glue, the grace that guides us through the liturgy. We look forward to a time when we are able to once again physically attend and joyfully sing.
And finally, from Trudy Sadapur. I'm sitting here reading my book for book club and listening to classical music. It's always been a friend. We used to drive to Symphony Hall and think nothing of it. But more recently, I think, who needs to go to Symphony Hall for music at First Parish? When the parishioner would arrive, I would immediately look for Brad's music notes. I feel I've been getting a music education by going to First Parish. Brad is amazing, and so are his lyceums. I love listening to Steve Sussman. I always go up and ask him what it was that he played. The musicians are wonderful. In the services, the spirituality is very important, but it's the music that carries me beyond. What a crushing blow to lose live music now. It is such a major part of my life.
Good morning. I'm Janet Welby, your youth choir director. And it's wonderful to see you all this morning. One summer, a few years ago, I brought my electric piano and manuscript paper to my husband's family cottage on Loon Lake in New Hampshire. My plan was to write some music. I adore the loons up there. Their voices are so beautiful, and they sing in the key of G minor. With the piano recreating my interpretation of the lake and choosing the flute and clarinet to sing like loons, I wrote my trio called Loons. Carol and Liz were excited to play this piece, and with them it has been performed by myself as well as the illustrious Steve Sussman on the piano. One venue was the Chancellor's Concert at UMass Lowell in Durgan Hall. The producers of this concert asked me if they could display images of nature behind us as we performed. I suggested something even better. My husband, the artist David Moore, had created a movie of his paintings to accompany loons. Or does loons accompany his paintings? That day, during our sound check, I sat at the piano in that beautiful hall, looked up and saw, larger than anything, practically surrounding us, David's paintings. In that moment, I truly felt our marriage of artistry. Carol and Liz have given loons a life. These two amazing musicians not only bring us music at the highest possible level, but they totally forgot to take their diva pills. They are two of the nicest, kindest, most generous people I know. Please enjoy the trio titled Loons.
As we close this morning's service, I want to thank everyone for being with us this morning. It's been an emotional experience. We're going to let the music close the service, but before that, I'd like to share with you these closing words. A poem by Tagore called Let All the Strains of Joy. Let all the strains of joy mingle in my last song. The joy that makes the world over in the riotous excess of the grass. The joy that sends the twin brothers life and death dancing over the wide world. The joy that sweeps in with the tempest, shaking and waking all life with laughter. The joy that sits still with its tears on the open red lotus of pain. And the joy that throws everything it has up on the dust and knows not a word.